Hi guys, this is day 10 of the 42-day revision challenge, and today we are covering what we call role of prices and need for government intervention. So in a market system where demand and supply is determining price and quantity, we say prices have a strong role to play because relative prices and change in price will reflect what we call changes in demand and supply, and we say it helps us to solve economic problem. Resources will move towards those goods where they are in shorter supply relative to demand, and they can move away from those goods where there is a least demand. So the first role that we want to talk about when it comes to prices is rationing. So whenever resources are particularly scarce, we will see that the demand is exceeding supply. In that case of demand exceeding supply, we'll see that the prices will go up for that good. So goods which are scarce will have a higher demand than supply, and therefore there will be an effect of rising price in those kind of goods. The effect of such a price rise will be that there will be some consumers that will be discouraged to consume that good. So a rise of price where demand is exceeding supply is basically consumers will be discouraged. Why? Because the price is going up. But at the same time, because the price is going up, producers will be encouraged to produce more of that good. So price is playing two kind of role. On the consumer side, it is discouraging consumers to consume more, so they will be cutting down on the quantity demanded. On the other hand, price rise will encourage producers to produce more, and that will result in quantity to go up. This in turn will result in what we call an equilibrium to happen, where quantity demanded will equal quantity supplied. So what we say is that the greater the scarcity or relative scarcity, the higher will be the price, and the more resources will be rationed. The keyword that we use here, ration, which means distributed or allocated towards that good. We can show rationing happening in a diagram. So let's assume this is a market for oil, okay? And let's say currently equilibrium is P naught, Q naught, okay? Let me zoom this on this diagram, and now let's say suddenly the demand goes up for this good. So demand is rising. Now at the existing price, you can see this. That's more quantity is demanded than quantity supplied. And that means that the price will now have to start rising because demand is exceeding supply. Demand is exceeding supply at the existing price. So price will start to rise. So some producers will be encouraged to produce more as the price is going up. Let me call this point C. And at the same time, some consumers will be discouraged to consume more of that good. And the effect of both of this price going up and quantity demanded going down and quantity supplied going up would be ultimately will come to a point like Q1 where quantity demanded will equal quantity supplied. So that is kind of like what the rationing effect would be, that like a rise in demand means more resources are allocated to the good, but at the same time people are also using or consuming oil in a more responsible manner maybe, and there is a contraction of demand that is also happening. So that's rationing happening in this diagram. So rationing is simply of how we are allocating resources, and the price is playing a strong role, where higher price means a relative scarcity of the good, and therefore more consumption of that. More resources will be allocated to the good. At the same time, some consumers looking at the prices going up may not demand more of that good, unless we can say demand is perfectly like inelastic. The second thing we want to talk about when it comes to the role of prices is to do with signaling. We say that price plays a very important role in terms of signaling both the consumers and the producers. When it comes to a rising price, it gives a signal to the consumer to reduce demand or withdraw from a market completely because the good is becoming expensive. Similarly, if the price is going up and you are a producer, it will be a different signal for you, because for you this is basically a time to enter the market, to enter the market, as higher price means more profitability, more sales, and therefore this is the time for you to enter the market because the price is going up. So it's a contrasting signal for the consumer. It's like buy less of the good is becoming expensive, and therefore you reduce demand. From the producer perspective, it's like time to enter the market. Similarly, if the price is going down, for the consumer, we will say that this is the time. Consumer will be like, what, the price is going down. That's a positive signal for the consumer. He will want to, what we say, enter the market and probably buy the good, because now the good is more affordable. And at the same time, from a producer perspective, it's a negative signal to probably leave the market, because producer will be like, it's not profitable to buy the good. Now you can look at this diagram again. So when the price is going up, consumers are getting a signal that the price is going up. Let's leave the market because the good is becoming expensive. So some consumers may leave. At the same time, some producers are looking at this price and there's a signal for them to enter the market because the price is going up, so it's more profitable. Ultimately, some consumers will leave, some producers will enter, and we will reach an equilibrium. That's what signaling basically means. A good example of this would be, like how there was a rise in market price of smartphones, which resulted in a lot of producers to enter the market and perhaps leave another market. Like, for example, Samsung, it was producing at different things, and then they start focusing on cell phones as well, because production of making cell phones or smartphones was more profitable to do so. The last thing we want to talk about is about the incentive effect. Incentive effect is all about profitability. We know when the price is going up, there is an incentive for producer to produce more, and the reason is because it will lead to more profits. At the same time, when you look at the consumer, if the price is going up, consumer will be like, what, I should buy less of the good because I'm getting lower quantity per dollar spent. So the value that he's getting per dollar spent is going down because the good is becoming expensive. So the idea goes this, that when you look at from the consumer's perspective, he's going to look at per dollar spent, is he getting the same or less or more, and the answer will be his incentive to buy will go down because it's not giving him as much quantity per dollar spent as before. But as from a producer perspective, the incentive will be to produce more because it will lead to more profits since the price is rising. So guys, these are the three functions or role of prices. Our next discussion will be about what we say, if this is what the role of prices are, why do we need government to intervene to start off with? We say the need for government intervention start whenever the market is not doing well in terms of allocation of resources, and we identified three kinds of need for government intervention. A, when there is what we call large fluctuation in prices. So the first thing that matters to us, if there's a large fluctuation in prices, we will need for government to intervene, and we'll talk about it why. The second need for intervention can become because there is too high a price. If the price of a good is too high, we will want for the government to intervene, because that may result in some consumers to be unhappy. And lastly, we'll see government to intervene when the price is too low. So too low a price. So these are the three things or three reasons why government need to intervene. Let's focus on the first one. So when there's a large fluctuation in prices, and that happens a lot in the agriculture market. When you look at agriculture market, it has issues. Agriculture market. When you look at agriculture market, there are a lot of issues in terms of supply, where due to the supply being fluctuating and not in the control of farmers, there could be large fluctuations in prices, and that large fluctuation in prices in a very short span of time may result in problems for producer, both in the short term and in the long run. In the short term, what we say is that if there's too much of fluctuation in prices, it gives what we call a conflicting or wrong signal to producers. So producers may take this as a very confusing sort of signal, and it can result it can result in producers to either over or under produce. So the signaling function of prices may not happen. Why? Because suddenly one day price is up and the next day price is down. When the price goes up, I want to produce more, but let's say I commit producing more, and then the price goes down, I may end up over or under producing because of this confusing picture in the short run, or because of the fluctuating prices. The second thing that happens is basically when it comes to the fluctuation in prices has to do with the idea that in the long run, if the price is fluctuating, we will have a problem of under or over investment. Over or under investment. And the reason is very simple, that like if the price is going up, I may want to produce more, and not only I may want to produce more, I may want to commit more of my funds in terms of more production, buying more land, buying more sort of pesticides, insecticides, or whatever inputs that go in production of farming, and that may become an over investment because the demand may not be there to start off with, and the price fluctuation was not truly a rise in price for the long run. So when the price is fluctuating too much, it has a problem in terms of signaling, and as a result of that, it can lead to A, under or overproduction in the short run, and B, under or over investment in the long run. The second need for government intervention starts when the price is too high. Too high a price is a good sign for the producers. We've seen this, but what if the good that we're talking about is a good which is what we call a necessity? A necessity is a good we know it is important for our survival. So let's say, for example, if it's a necessity like rice, education, and bread, where poor households are unable to afford to buy the good in sufficient amounts, we need government to intervene because the price again is too high for the consumers. So sometimes when the good is a necessity, which is important for our survival, and is becoming expensive, there might need be a government intervention for making the good to be affordable for the consumers. So if it's a necessity, government may want to intervene. The second important point is that if the price of the good is too high, for example, in the case of merit goods are those private goods which are important for people because they are generating what we call sometimes positive externalities. And a good example of this could be healthcare. You may see government to intervene. And education, of course, is another example. And government may want to intervene in the case if it's a merit course, because they may want to reduce the inequality in society. They may want more people to buy that good, or they may want more people to afford that good. It could be in terms of price controls that they may intervene, or it could be in terms of like subsidies. But whatever the case will be, there is a need for government intervention if the price is too high for goods like merit goods and necessities. Lastly, when it comes to too low a price, that's also a problem. And a good example of this could be too low a price means producers may suffer. So government decides that the price is too low, and if it's impacting producers, for example, in agriculture, if the price is too low, we know the farmers will probably decide not to produce the good. And if they don't produce the good, they may could go to different sectors, which would mean agricultural goods may have a long-term reduction in supply. So you may want to intervene in agriculture and give support prices, maybe to make sure that the supply stays constant or strong. And that's because if the price is too low, there won't be enough profits for producers to produce. So to a lower price could be bad news for producers. So producers may not make profits, and government may need to intervene. More importantly, sometimes too low a price could be a problem of leading to overconsumption. A good example of this could be demerit goods. In the case of demerit goods, we could see a problem of too low a price leading to higher consumption, which can be bad for society. A good example of this could be cigarettes, where demerit goods, if they are really cheap, like cigarettes are really cheap, a lot of people might consume it. A lot of people might consume mean it can lead to what we call passive smoking. It can lead to poor health indicators, and that's why government may need to intervene so that when they intervene in terms of taxes or in terms of any price sort of controls, it may lead to lower quantity and therefore lower negative externalities that are caused by these demerit goods. Negative externalities. So these are the three reasons why government may intervene: if the price is too low, price is too high, or if there is large fluctuations in prices. How does the government intervene? We'll see that in the next video.